Gabriel Johnson's hands trembled as he reached for the coffee cup sitting perfectly on the mahogany conference table. The bitter taste hit his tongue first, followed by a strange metallic aftertaste that made his stomach lurch. Around him, 15 board members waited for his quarterly presentation, their faces expectant and patient. The PowerPoint slide glowed behind him, showing Johnson Industries' record profits, but Gabriel's vision began to blur. "Sir, are you feeling all right?" asked Robert Chin, the head of marketing, leaning forward in his chair. Gabriel tried to speak, but his throat felt like sandpaper. His heart began racing, and sweat beaded on his forehead despite the air conditioning. The coffee cup slipped from his fingers and shattered against the floor, sending dark liquid across the white marble. "Call 911, someone shouted, but the voice sounded distant and hollow. Gabriel's knees buckled, and he crashed backward into his leather chair. His chest felt tight, like someone was squeezing his ribcage with invisible hands. The room spun around him, faces blurring into worried shapes. Through the chaos, he heard the conference room door burst open. "Everyone step back," commanded a firm, clear voice that cut through the panic. Sophia Adams rushed into the room, her bright blue driver's uniform standing out against the sea of dark business suits. She had been waiting in the parking garage when she heard the commotion through the building's security radio. Something in her gut told her to run. "Mr. Johnson, can you hear me?" Sophia knelt beside his chair, her trained hands checking his pulse. As his personal driver and former EMT, she knew the signs. His pulse was weak and irregular, his breathing shallow. "Someone call his wife," suggested the CFO, but Sophia's instincts screamed against it. "No," Sophia said firmly, pulling out her phone. "I'm calling the paramedics myself." Gabriel's eyes rolled back and his body went limp. Without hesitation, Sophia caught him as he fell forward and gently lowered him to the floor. She tilted his head back, checked his airway, and began chest compressions. "Come on, Mr. Johnson, stay with me," she whispered, counting each compression. Her hands pressed rhythmically against his chest, and she could feel his heartbeat fighting to stay steady. The paramedics arrived within minutes, but it felt like hours. Sophia continued CPR until they took over, never leaving his side. As they loaded Gabriel onto a stretcher, she grabbed the broken coffee cup pieces and the remaining liquid with her handkerchief. "I'm riding with him," she announced to the paramedics. "Are you family?" one asked. "I'm his driver, but more importantly, I think someone tried to hurt him." In the ambulance, Sophia held Gabriel's hand while the medics worked. His face was pale, but his breathing had stabilized. She studied his symptoms: the trembling, the heart palpitations, the sudden collapse after drinking that coffee. It all pointed to one terrifying possibility. "I think he's been poisoned," she told the lead paramedic. "Test that coffee residue I brought." The paramedic looked skeptical but nodded. "We'll run a full toxicology screen at the hospital." Gabriel's phone buzzed constantly with calls from his wife, Veronica. Sophia stared at the screen, remembering how Veronica had personally prepared Gabriel's coffee that morning, insisting he take it to the meeting. Something cold settled in Sophia's stomach. At the hospital, Sophia paced the waiting room while doctors worked on Gabriel. Her blue uniform drew curious stares, but she didn't care. All that mattered was making sure he survived. Dr. Patricia Williams emerged from the emergency room, her expression grave. "Are you family?" "I'm his driver, Sophia Adams. I'm the one who performed CPR and brought him in." "You saved his life," Dr. Williams said simply. "His heart had stopped for nearly a minute before you started compressions. But I need to ask you something important about the coffee residue you brought." Sophia's heart raced. "What did you find?" "Traces of digitalis, a heart medication that can be deadly in large doses. Someone has been giving this to Mr. Johnson regularly, based on the levels in his blood. This wasn't his first exposure." The words hit Sophia like a physical blow. Someone had been slowly poisoning Gabriel, and if she hadn't acted quickly today, he would have died. "Can I see him?" she asked. "He's stable but unconscious. You can sit with him, but I have to ask, do you know who might want to hurt him?" Sophia's mind raced to Veronica's perfect smile that morning, her insistence that Gabriel take the coffee, her strange calm when others panicked during the conference call about his collapse. "I might," Sophia said quietly. "But I need proof." As she walked toward Gabriel's room, Sophia made a silent promise. She had saved his life today, but now she had to save him from whoever was trying to take it away. Even if it meant confronting the one person Gabriel trusted most in the world. Have you ever wondered what you would do if you discovered someone you cared about was in danger, but telling them might break their heart? The choices we make in these moments define who we really are. If this story resonates with you, please subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think Sophia should do next. Gabriel's hospital room felt cold despite the afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows. Machines beeped steadily around his bed, monitoring his vital signs as he slept. Sophia sat in the uncomfortable plastic chair beside him, still wearing her blue uniform, refusing to leave his side. She had called in sick to her second job and canceled her evening classes. Nothing mattered except making sure Gabriel was safe. Every few minutes, she glanced at his face, watching for any sign of consciousness. "Mr. Johnson," she said softly, squeezing his hand. "If you can hear me, you're going to be okay. I promise." The door opened and Veronica Johnson swept in like a hurricane. She wore a designer black dress and pearls, her makeup perfect despite her supposed rush to the hospital. But Sophia noticed something others might miss. Veronica's hands weren't shaking, her eyes weren't red from crying, and she checked her phone more than she looked at her unconscious husband. "Oh, Gabriel," Veronica wailed dramatically, pushing past Sophia to reach the bed. "My poor darling, what happened to you?" "Mrs. Johnson." Sophia stood up, her voice respectful but firm. "The doctors said he was poisoned." Veronica's expression flickered for just a moment before settling back into concern. "Poisoned? That's impossible. He only ate what I prepared at home." "The coffee cup from this morning," Sophia pressed gently. "Do you remember what you put in it?" "Just his usual sugar and cream," Veronica snapped. "Are you suggesting I hurt my own husband?" Sophia backed down, but she filed away Veronica's defensive reaction. "Of course not, ma'am. I just want to help figure out what happened." Dr. Williams entered the room, interrupting the tense moment. "Mrs. Johnson, I'm glad you're here. We need to discuss your husband's treatment." "Of course, doctor." Veronica moved closer to the bed, taking Gabriel's other hand. "What do you recommend?" "We need to flush the remaining toxins from his system and monitor his heart function closely. He'll need to stay here for at least 3 days for observation." 3 days. Veronica's voice pitched higher. "Surely he can recover at home where I can take better care of him?" Sophia frowned. Most wives would want their husbands in the hospital where trained professionals could monitor them. "I'm afraid not," Dr. Williams said firmly. "The digitalis levels in his blood are concerning. He needs professional medical supervision." "Digitalis," Veronica repeated, and Sophia caught the slight tremor in her voice. "It's found in foxglove plants, but it's also used in heart medications," the doctor explained. "Do you know if your husband has been taking any new supplements or medications?" "No, nothing new," Veronica said quickly. Too quickly. Dr. Williams nodded and made notes on Gabriel's chart. "We'll continue the 4 treatment to help his kidneys process the toxins. He should wake up within the next few hours." After the doctor left, Veronica turned to Sophia with a cold smile. "Thank you for helping my husband, but I can take care of him now. You should go home and rest." "With respect, Mrs. Johnson, I'd like to stay until he wakes up, just to make sure he's really okay." "That's not necessary," Veronica's tone grew sharper. "Gabriel needs peace and quiet, not crowds of people hovering around his bed." But Sophia had made a promise and she intended to keep it. "I understand, but I'll just sit quietly in the corner. I won't disturb him." Veronica's perfectly manicured hands clenched into fists. "I said you can go home. And I said I'm staying." The two women stared at each other across Gabriel's unconscious form. Sophia stood her ground, her 5'6" frame solid and determined in her bright blue uniform. She had saved Gabriel's life once today, and she wasn't about to leave him vulnerable now. "Fine," Veronica said through gritted teeth. "But I'm calling hospital security if you cause any trouble." Sophia nodded calmly and settled back into her chair. She watched as Veronica fussed over Gabriel, adjusting his blankets and smoothing his hair. To an outside observer, it looked like a devoted wife caring for her sick husband. But Sophia noticed other things. How Veronica kept checking the 4-line, how she asked the nurses detailed questions about his medication schedule, how she seemed more interested in when the toxins would be completely gone than when Gabriel would wake up. Around 6 o'clock, Gabriel's eyelids fluttered. Sophia leaned forward, her heart racing with relief. "Gabriel?" she said softly. His eyes opened slowly, unfocused and confused. "Sophia? What? Where am I?" "You're in the hospital," she explained gently. "You collapsed during the board meeting. Do you remember drinking your coffee this morning?" Gabriel's forehead wrinkled as he tried to remember. "Coffee, yes. It tasted strange." Veronica quickly moved to his other side, taking his hand. "Darling, you gave us such a scare. The doctors say you had some kind of reaction." Reaction to what? Gabriel's voice was hoarse but growing stronger. Sophia caught Dr. Williams' eye as she entered the room. The doctor had been monitoring from the nurse's station, waiting for Gabriel to regain consciousness. Mr. Johnson, how are you feeling? Dr. Williams asked, checking his pupils with a small flashlight. Tired? Confused. My chest still feels tight. That's normal given what you've been through. We found traces of digitalis in your system which caused your heart to react dangerously. Have you been taking any new medications or supplements recently? Gabriel shook his head weakly. No, nothing new. I only take the vitamins Veronica gives me each morning. Sophia's blood ran cold. She looked at Veronica, who had gone very still. Vitamins? Dr. Williams asked. What kind of vitamins? Just the usual, Veronica interrupted. Multivitamins, vitamin D, things like that. I buy them from the health store downtown. But Sophia was watching Gabriel's face. Even in his weakened state, she could see confusion there. Actually, Gabriel said slowly, they're not from a store. Veronica orders them special online. She says they're better quality than regular ones. Dr. Williams and Sophia exchanged a meaningful look. I'd like to see those vitamins, the doctor said carefully. Just to make sure there are no interactions we should be aware of. Of course, Veronica said smoothly. I'll bring them tomorrow. But Sophia knew she wouldn't. And more importantly, she knew she had to act fast before Veronica found another way to finish what she had started. The next morning, Sophia arrived at the hospital before visiting hours officially began. She had spent the entire night researching digitalis poisoning and Veronica Johnson's background. What she found made her stomach turn. You're here early, said Janet, the night nurse who was about to end her shift. Your boss is doing much better this morning. That's wonderful news, Sophia replied, but her mind was elsewhere. Janet, can I ask you something? When Mrs. Johnson was here yesterday, did she ask any unusual questions? Janet looked around to make sure they weren't being overheard. Well, now that you mention it, she did seem very interested in the 4 medications. Asked specific questions about how long they stay in the system and when they'd be completely eliminated. Sophia's suspicions deepened. Did she ask about visiting hours or when she could be alone with him? Yes, actually. She wanted to know exactly when the staff changes shifts and how often we check on patients during the night. Janet paused. Is everything okay? That's not really normal behavior for a worried spouse. I think Mrs. Johnson might not have her husband's best interests at heart, Sophia said carefully. Janet's eyes widened. You think she's the one who poisoned him? I can't prove it yet, but yes. And I'm worried she might try again. What are you going to do? I'm going to stay here as much as possible and I'm going to gather evidence. Gabriel was awake when Sophia entered his room. His color had improved overnight, and he was sitting up slightly, sipping water through a straw. Sophia, he smiled weakly. You came back. Of course I did. How are you feeling? Better, thanks to you. The nurses told me you performed CPR and rushed me here. You saved my life. Sophia pulled her chair closer to his bed. She had debated all night about how much to tell him, but seeing his trusting face, she knew she had to be careful. Gabriel, I need to ask you some questions about your routine at home. Can you tell me about your mornings? My mornings? Gabriel looked puzzled but answered. I wake up around 6, shower, and come downstairs for breakfast. Veronica always has my coffee ready and my vitamins laid out next to my plate. She's very organized about my health. How long has she been giving you those special vitamins? Gabriel thought for a moment. About 6 months, I think. She said regular vitamins weren't strong enough for someone with my schedule and stress level. 6 months. Sophia's research had shown that digitalis poisoning could be done slowly over months, gradually weakening the heart until one larger dose caused complete cardiac arrest. Gabriel, have you noticed any changes in how you've been feeling over the past 6 months? Well, now that you mention it, I have been more tired lately. Sometimes dizzy. Veronica kept saying I was working too hard and needed to slow down. Sophia's hands clenched in her lap. Have you had any chest pains or irregular heartbeats? A few times, but Veronica said it was just stress. She gave me some herbal tea that she said would help. Where did she get this herbal tea? She orders it online like the vitamins. She's very into natural health remedies. The pieces were falling into place, painting a picture that made Sophia sick. Veronica had been systematically poisoning her husband while appearing to care for his health. Gabriel, I need to tell you something important, but I want you to stay calm. Before she could continue, Veronica walked into the room carrying a large bouquet of flowers and a bright smile. Good morning, darling, she chirped, kissing Gabriel's forehead. I brought your favorite flowers and some things from home to make you more comfortable. She set down a small bag beside his bed. Sophia noticed a pill organizer sticking out of the top. I brought your vitamins, Veronica continued. The doctor said you could start taking them again as soon as you feel up to it. Actually, Sophia stood up. Dr. Williams wanted to examine those vitamins first, remember? Veronica's smile tightened. Of course, but Gabriel knows what he usually takes. There's no need to worry the doctor with such minor details. I think it would be better to let the medical team decide what's minor, Sophia pressed. Gabriel looked confused, glancing between the two women. Is there some problem with my vitamins? Not at all, sweetheart, Veronica said quickly. Sophia is just being overly cautious. Dr. Williams chose that moment to enter the room for morning rounds. Good morning, everyone. Mr. Johnson, you look much better today. Doctor, Sophia said immediately, Mrs. Johnson brought the vitamins you wanted to examine. Perfect. Dr. Williams reached for the bag, but Veronica quickly snatched it away. Actually, I forgot I brought the wrong ones. These are old bottles. I'll bring the current ones this afternoon. Sophia saw the flash of panic in Veronica's eyes and knew she was right. The vitamins contained digitalis, and Veronica was scrambling to cover her tracks. That's quite all right, Dr. Williams said smoothly. We can wait. In the meantime, Mr. Johnson shouldn't take any supplements until we've cleared them. But he needs his vitamins, Veronica protested. His health depends on them. His health depends on not being poisoned, Sophia said sharply, unable to hold back any longer. The room went dead silent. Gabriel stared at Sophia in shock, Veronica's face turned white, and Dr. Williams watched the interaction with professional interest. What did you just say? Gabriel's voice was barely a whisper. Sophia looked at his confused, hurt face and knew there was no turning back. Gabriel, I think someone has been poisoning you. And I think it's been going on for months. Veronica laughed shrilly. That's ridiculous. Who would want to poison Gabriel? Sophia met her eyes directly. Someone who stands to benefit from his death. The truth hung in the air between them like a loaded gun. Gabriel's face crumpled as he began to understand what Sophia was suggesting. That's enough, Veronica snapped. Gabriel, you're not going to listen to this woman, are you? She's just a driver. She doesn't know anything about medicine or our marriage. But Gabriel was looking at Sophia with new understanding. You think Veronica is trying to kill me? Sophia knelt beside his bed and took his hand gently. I think someone is, and I think we need to find out who before they try again. Gabriel closed his eyes and Sophia saw tears leak from the corners. The man she had come to care about was realizing that his life had been built on lies. I'm going to find out the truth, Sophia promised him quietly. And I'm going to keep you safe. What would you do if you discovered that the person you trusted most was the one trying to destroy you? Sometimes the people closest to us hide the darkest secrets. If you're invested in Gabriel and Sophia's journey, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments. Do you think Sophia is making the right choice by confronting the truth? Gabriel stared at the ceiling for a long time after Veronica stormed out of the hospital room. Dr. Williams had tactfully excused herself, promising to run tests on any supplements before Gabriel took them. Now it was just Gabriel and Sophia, sitting in the heavy silence of terrible possibilities. I can't believe it, Gabriel finally whispered. Veronica loves me. We've been married for 8 years. Sophia pulled her chair closer to his bed. She wore a soft green sweater today instead of her uniform, trying to look less official and more like a friend. Gabriel, I know this is hard to accept. But we need to look at the facts. What facts? Gabriel's voice was hollow. The digitalis in your blood came from somewhere. You said you've been feeling tired and dizzy for months. The timing matches with when Veronica started giving you those special vitamins. Gabriel turned to look at her, his eyes red-rimmed. But why would she want to hurt me? Sophia had spent hours researching this question. How much is your life insurance policy worth? Gabriel's face went pale. $50 million. But Veronica doesn't need money. She has everything she wants. Does she? Gabriel, do you know anything about Veronica's finances before she married you? She told me her family had money. She never talked about it much. Sophia pulled out her phone and showed Gabriel what she had found. I did some research last night. Veronica Martinez was deeply in debt before she married you. Credit cards maxed out, student loans in default, eviction notices. She filed for bankruptcy 6 months before you met. Gabriel stared at the documents on Sophia's phone screen. This can't be right. She told me she was an art dealer from a wealthy family. She worked at an art gallery but as a receptionist, not a dealer. And her family runs a small restaurant in Queens, not a wealthy estate like she claimed. The betrayal was written all over Gabriel's face. She lied about everything. I'm sorry, Gabriel. I know this hurts. Gabriel was quiet for several minutes, processing the information. When he spoke again, his voice was stronger. What else did you find? She's been researching Digitalis online. I found cached searches on her laptop from the hospital's guest Wi-Fi yesterday. She was looking up how long it takes to leave the bloodstream and what the lethal dose would be. Gabriel's hands clenched the hospital blankets. She really is trying to kill me. I think she's been doing it slowly, making it look like you were having health problems from stress and overwork. Yesterday was supposed to be the final dose. But you saved me. Sophia nodded. And now she knows I'm suspicious. Gabriel, I think you're still in danger. Gabriel sat up straighter in his hospital bed, and Sophia saw a spark of determination in his eyes that hadn't been there before. What do? We need proof. Something that will hold up in court. And we need to make sure she doesn't get another chance to hurt you. How do we get proof? Sophia had been thinking about this all night. We need to catch her in the act. But Gabriel, it means you'll have to pretend you don't know anything. You'll have to go home and act normal while we gather evidence. That sounds dangerous. I'll be there. I'll move into your house as live-in security. We'll tell Veronica it's because of the incident, that you're worried about your safety at work and want protection at home too. Gabriel considered this. She won't like having you around all the time. Good. Maybe she'll get desperate and make a mistake. What kind of mistake? People who are guilty often confess when they think they're safe. We'll set up recording equipment and see if we can get her to admit what she's been doing. Gabriel was quiet again, thinking through the plan. Sophia, why are you doing this for me? You could just find another job. The question caught Sophia off guard. She had been asking herself the same thing. Because it's the right thing to do. And because. She hesitated, then decided to be honest. Because I care about you, Gabriel. You're a good man, and you don't deserve what's happening to you. Something shifted in Gabriel's expression as he looked at her. You've been taking care of me for 3 years. Always making sure I eat, that I get to meetings safely, that I take breaks when I'm working too hard. I never really noticed before. That's my job. No, it's more than that. You care about people. Veronica pretends to care, but you actually do. Sophia felt heat rise in her cheeks. Gabriel, you're vulnerable right now. You shouldn't make decisions about people based on what you're going through. Maybe. Or maybe almost dying has helped me see things clearly for the first time. Dr. Williams knocked and entered the room. Mr. Johnson, how are you feeling today? Much better, thank you. Dr. Williams, I want to ask you something important. If someone wanted to slowly poison another person with Digitalis, how would they do it? The doctor looked surprised by the direct question. Theoretically, they would need access to the person's food or drink on a regular basis. Small doses over time would build up in the system and gradually weaken the heart. How long would it take? Months possibly. The victim would experience increasing fatigue, dizziness, and eventually heart problems that might be attributed to other causes. Gabriel and Sophia exchanged meaningful looks. Doctor, Sophia said, we think Gabriel's wife has been poisoning him. We need your help to prove it and to keep him safe. Dr. Williams sat down slowly. That's a very serious accusation. We know, Gabriel said. But we have evidence and we need medical documentation to support it. What kind of help do you need? We need you to test those vitamins when Veronica brings them. And we need you to document Gabriel's condition as consistent with long-term Digitalis exposure. Dr. Williams nodded slowly. I can do that. But Gabriel, if what you're saying is true, you shouldn't go home with her. I have to. It's the only way to catch her and make sure she doesn't hurt anyone else. It's too dangerous. Sophia leaned forward. Doctor, what if Gabriel wasn't really alone? What if he had someone there to protect him and to witness what happens? That might work, Dr. Williams agreed reluctantly. But whoever stays with him would need medical training to recognize the symptoms and act quickly if needed. I'm a certified EMT, Sophia said. I can handle it. Gabriel reached for Sophia's hand. Are you sure about this? If we're right about Veronica, she's already tried to kill me once. Sophia squeezed his hand gently. I'm sure. We're going to expose her, Gabriel. And we're going to make sure you're safe. For the first time since the poisoning, Gabriel smiled. Then let's catch ourselves a murderer. Gabriel was discharged from the hospital 3 days later with a clean bill of health and a secret plan. Sophia had spent those 3 days coordinating with his lawyer James Thompson. a sharp-minded man in his 50s who had been Gabriel's friend since college. "This is incredibly dangerous," James said as they sat in his office going over the details. "If Veronica realizes what you're doing, she might escalate." "Which is why we need to move fast," Sophia replied. She wore a professional burgundy blazer for the meeting, wanting to be taken seriously by Gabriel's legal team. "We have maybe a week before she gets suspicious about why Gabriel isn't taking his vitamins anymore." Gabriel nodded from his seat across the desk. Dr. Williams confirmed that the vitamins Veronica finally brought contained digitalis. "She's been poisoning me slowly for months." "That gives us grounds for attempted murder charges," James said, making notes. "But we need more evidence. Her defense team will argue that someone else could have tampered with the vitamins." "That's why we're going to get a confession," Sophia said. "I've researched the best recording equipment. Small, undetectable but high-quality audio." James looked skeptical. "Getting her to confess won't be easy. She's been smart about this so far." "She's been careful," Sophia corrected. "But she's not as smart as she thinks. She made mistakes and she'll make more when she realizes her plan failed." Gabriel leaned forward. "What kind of mistakes?" Sophia pulled out a folder thick with documents. "I've been busy. Veronica bought the digitalis online using a credit card in her name. She researched foxglove plants and cardiac arrest symptoms from your home computer. She increased your life insurance policy 6 months ago without telling you." Gabriel's face darkened. "She increased my insurance? From 20 million to 50 million. And Gabriel, she forged your signature on the paperwork." James whistled low. "That's insurance fraud on top of attempted murder." "There's more," Sophia continued. "She's been having an affair." The words hit Gabriel like a physical blow. He sat back in his chair, his face going pale. "With who?" "Dr. Ricardo Santos. He's a cardiologist who specializes in digitalis treatments. I think he's been advising her on dosages." Gabriel closed his eyes. "How do you know about the affair?" "I followed her yesterday while you were sleeping. She went to his apartment and stayed for 3 hours. They've been together for almost a year, based on the hotel receipts I found in her car." James shook his head. "This gets worse and worse." "Gabriel, I'm sorry." Gabriel opened his eyes and Sophia saw something new there. Not just hurt but anger. "She's been planning this for a long time." "I think she married you specifically for your money," Sophia said gently. "The timeline suggests she met Dr. Santos around the same time she started researching digitalis. So they planned it together. That's what we need to prove. If we can get evidence of their conspiracy, we can bring charges against both of them." Gabriel stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city he had helped build with his company. 8 years of marriage. Was any of it real? Sophia wanted to comfort him but wasn't sure how. "Gabriel, I know this is painful. But focusing on that won't help us stop her." "You're right." Gabriel turned back to face them. "What do we need to do?" James spread out a legal pad and started making a list. "First, we need to document everything Sophia has found. Bank records, computer searches, insurance documents. We need it all authenticated and legally obtained." "I can help with that," Sophia said. "As Gabriel's driver, I have access to the house and his personal accounts." "Second, we need surveillance. If Veronica is still planning to complete her murder plot, we need evidence of her actions." Gabriel nodded. "Sophia will be staying at the house as my live-in security. We can install cameras and recording equipment." "Third, we need to be ready to act fast. If she tries to poison you again, we need police standing by to arrest her immediately." "What about Dr. Santos?" Sophia asked. "We'll need evidence of his involvement before we can touch him. Phone records, financial transactions, anything that proves they were working together." Gabriel returned to his seat, his expression determined. "How long do you think it will take?" "If everything goes according to plan, maybe a week," James said. "But Gabriel, you have to promise me something. If at any point you feel like you're in immediate danger, you call 911 first and worry about evidence second." "I promise." James looked at Sophia. "And you have to promise that you won't try to handle this alone. If Veronica realizes what's happening, she might become desperate." "I understand." "Good. Then let's set up the surveillance equipment and catch ourselves a killer." That evening, Gabriel returned home for the first time since his poisoning. Veronica greeted him at the door with tears and kisses, playing the part of the concerned wife perfectly. "Oh Gabriel, I'm so glad you're home safe," she cried, wrapping her arms around him. "I was so scared I was going to lose you." Gabriel hugged her back, but Sophia could see the stiffness in his shoulders. I'm fine thanks to Sophia and the doctors. Yes, thank goodness for Sophia, Veronica said, but her smile was cold when she looked over Gabriel's shoulder. Though I don't understand why she needs to stay here now. The doctors recommended live in security until we figure out what caused my collapse, Gabriel explained. It could have been an attempted poisoning by a business rival. Sophia watched Veronica's reaction carefully. The woman's face showed just the right amount of concern and shock. Poisoning? But who would want to hurt you? We don't know yet. That's why Sophia will be staying in the guest room and monitoring my food and activities. Veronica's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Of course. Whatever makes you feel safe. But Sophia caught the flash of anger in Veronica's eyes. The woman was already calculating how to work around this new obstacle. As they settled in for the evening, Sophia activated the hidden recording devices James had provided. Every conversation, every movement would be captured. Gabriel went to bed early, claiming he was still tired from his hospital stay. Sophia settled into the living room with a book, but she was really watching and listening. Around midnight, she heard Veronica on the phone in the kitchen. We have a problem, Veronica whispered. She's living here now. I don't know how long. We need to accelerate the timeline. No, it's too risky with her watching. Just figure it out, Ricardo. Sophia smiled grimly and checked the recording equipment. They were already getting evidence of the conspiracy. This was going to be easier than she thought. The recording equipment had been running for 3 days when Sophia finally got the breakthrough they needed. She was pretending to read in the living room when Veronica thought Gabriel was napping upstairs. Veronica's phone rang and she answered it quietly, not knowing that every word was being captured by the tiny microphone hidden in the kitchen light fixture. Ricardo, I can't keep waiting, Veronica hissed into the phone. That woman is watching everything I do. Gabriel hasn't taken his vitamins since he got home from the hospital. Sophia kept her eyes on her book but strained to hear every word. I know it's dangerous, but we're running out of time. He's getting stronger every day and that driver of his is making him suspicious. What do you mean, how do I know? I can see it in the way he looks at me. There was a pause as Veronica listened to the person on the other end. Fine, but we stick to the original plan. I'll find a way to get the Digitalis into his system, and then we're free and clear with $50 million. Yes, I understand the risks. But I've come too far to quit now. Sophia's pulse quickened. Veronica was planning another attempt and soon. Tomorrow night, Veronica continued. I'll make his favorite dinner, something that will mask the taste. And I'll figure out how to get that woman out of the house. Don't worry about her. I have an idea. After Veronica hung up, Sophia waited 10 minutes before quietly making her way upstairs to Gabriel's home office. He was at his desk, pretending to work but actually monitoring the feeds from the surveillance cameras they had installed. Did you hear that? Sophia asked softly. Gabriel nodded, his face grim. Tomorrow night. We need to call James and set up the arrest. There's something else. She said she has an idea about getting me out of the house. We need to be ready for anything. Gabriel reached for her hand. Sophia, maybe this is too dangerous. We have enough evidence to arrest her now. We have evidence of conspiracy and planning but not attempted murder. If we arrest her before she acts, her lawyer could argue that she was just talking and never intended to follow through. But if we let her try again, we'll be ready. James will have police stationed outside, and I'll make sure you don't actually consume anything dangerous. Gabriel squeezed her hand. I don't want you getting hurt because of my problems. Something in his voice made Sophia look at him more closely. Over the past few days, she had seen Gabriel transform from a broken, betrayed man into someone stronger and more determined. But she had also seen the way he looked at her, the gentle concern in his voice when he spoke to her. Gabriel, we need to focus on stopping Veronica right now. I know. But Sophia, when this is over, I want to talk to you about something important. What? About us. About what happens next. Sophia felt her heart skip, but she pushed the feeling aside. Let's get through tomorrow first. The next evening, Veronica was unusually cheerful as she prepared dinner. She had sent Sophia to the store for wine, claiming she wanted to make the evening special for Gabriel's recovery. I think it's sweet that you want to celebrate, Sophia had said before leaving. I'll be back in about an hour. But Sophia didn't go to the store. Instead, she parked around the corner and snuck back through the garden entrance James had arranged to leave unlocked. She made her way to Gabriel's study, where she could monitor everything through the security cameras. Gabriel was in the kitchen with Veronica, playing his part perfectly. This smells wonderful, he said as she stirred something on the stove. What's the special occasion? I almost lost you, Veronica replied, turning to face him with tears in her eyes. I realized how much I love you and how empty my life would be without you. If Gabriel hadn't known the truth, it would have been a convincing performance. Even knowing what Sophia knew, she had to admit Veronica was a talented actress. I love you too, Gabriel said, and Sophia could hear the effort it took him to get those words out. I made your favorite lamb stew, Veronica continued, and I have a surprise for dessert. Gabriel sat at the kitchen table while Veronica served the meal. Sophia watched through the cameras as Veronica ladled stew into Gabriel's bowl, her back to him. She saw Veronica's hand move quickly, dropping something into the stew before turning around with a bright smile. Here you go, darling. Eat up. Gabriel picked up his spoon and took a small bite. Delicious. Have more, Veronica encouraged. You need to build up your strength. Gabriel continued to eat slowly while Veronica chatted about her day. She seemed relaxed now, confident that her plan was working. After Gabriel had eaten about half the bowl, he set down his spoon and rubbed his chest. Are you okay? Veronica asked, but Sophia caught the excited gleam in her eyes. I feel a little strange, Gabriel said. My heart is racing. Maybe you should lie down, Veronica suggested. You're probably just tired. Gabriel stood up slowly, swaying slightly. I think something's wrong. Don't be silly, Veronica said, but she was already reaching for her phone. I'll call for an ambulance. But instead of dialing 911, Sophia saw through the camera that Veronica was calling Dr. Santos. It's time, Veronica said into the phone. Come over now. Yes, he's showing symptoms. We'll have at least 30 minutes before anyone gets here. Gabriel collapsed into his chair, clutching his chest. Veronica, help me. Of course, darling, Veronica said sweetly, but she made no move to help him. Instead, she sat down across the table and watched him suffer. The thing is, Gabriel, Veronica continued conversationally, you were never supposed to survive the first attempt. That interfering driver of yours ruined everything. Gabriel's breathing was becoming labored, but he managed to speak. Why, Veronica? Why are you doing this? $50 million, darling. And my freedom from this boring marriage to a man who thinks charity work and board meetings are exciting. Sophia had heard enough. She pressed the emergency button that would signal the police stationed outside, then rushed downstairs. She burst into the kitchen just as Dr. Santos arrived through the back door. Stop right there, Sophia commanded, pointing her phone at them. This entire conversation has been recorded and transmitted to the police. Veronica's face went white, then twisted with rage. You little witch. You ruined everything. The police are already surrounding the house, Sophia said, moving to Gabriel's side. She quickly administered the antidote Dr. Williams had provided, a shot that would counteract the digitalis. Gabriel's breathing began to slow and his color improved. You can't prove anything, Dr. Santos said desperately. Actually, we can, James Thompson said as he walked through the front door followed by 2 police officers. We have recordings of your conspiracy, video evidence of the poisoning attempt, and testimony from multiple witnesses. This is entrapment, Veronica shrieked as the officers moved to arrest her. No, Gabriel said, standing up slowly with Sophia's support. This is justice. As they handcuffed Veronica and Dr. Santos, Sophia felt Gabriel's arms slip around her waist. Thank you, he whispered in her ear. You saved my life again. Sophia looked up at him and saw something new in his eyes. Not just gratitude but love. We make a good team, she replied softly. Yes, Gabriel said, pulling her closer. We do. 6 weeks after Veronica's arrest, Gabriel stood in his office looking out at the city skyline. The bruises on his heart were healing but slowly. The betrayal had cut deep, making him question everything he thought he knew about love and trust. Sophia knocked on his office door carrying 2 cups of coffee. She had officially become his head of security after the poisoning incident, but she still insisted on bringing him his afternoon coffee personally. Decaf as requested, she said with a smile, setting the cup on his desk. Dr. Williams wants you to avoid caffeine for another month while your heart fully recovers. Gabriel turned from the window and smiled back at her. You know, I never really tasted my coffee before all this happened. Veronica always made it for me and I just drank it without thinking. And now I notice everything. The flavor, the warmth, the fact that someone I trust is bringing it to me. Sophia felt warmth spread through her chest. Over the past weeks, she and Gabriel had worked closely together, dealing with lawyers, court appearances, and the media attention surrounding the case. Through it all, they had grown closer, but both were careful not to rush into anything romantic while Gabriel was still healing from his wife's betrayal. The prosecutor called this morning, Sophia said, settling into the chair across from his desk. Veronica agreed to plead guilty to attempted murder and insurance fraud. She'll get 25 years. Gabriel nodded, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. And Dr. Santos? 15 years for conspiracy. The judge said the evidence was overwhelming. Good. Gabriel was quiet for a moment. Sophia, can I ask you something? Of course. That day in the hospital, when you first suggested Veronica might be trying to hurt me. How did you know? Sophia had been dreading this question. I didn't know for certain. But I had been watching you for months, Gabriel. You were getting weaker, more tired. At first I thought it was just work stress, but when you collapsed after drinking that coffee, you put the pieces together. I had to consider all possibilities. And Veronica's reaction in the hospital was wrong. She was too calm, too focused on getting you out of medical care. Gabriel stood up and walked around his desk to sit in the chair next to Sophia's. You were willing to destroy my marriage and break my heart because you suspected something was wrong. Gabriel? That took incredible courage. And it saved my life. Sophia looked into his eyes and saw no anger there, only gratitude and something deeper. I couldn't let anything happen to you, she said softly. Why? The question hung in the air between them. Sophia had been asking herself the same thing for weeks. Why had she risked everything to protect a man who was technically just her employer? Because you're a good person, she said finally. Because you treat people with kindness and respect. Because you donated anonymously to my sister's college fund when you found out she was struggling financially. Gabriel looked surprised. How did you know about that? She got a scholarship from the Johnson Foundation. I put it together when I saw how the amounts matched her tuition exactly. I didn't want you to feel obligated to thank me. See? That's exactly what I mean. You do good things without expecting credit. You care about your employees' families. You support local charities. The world needs more people like you in it. Gabriel reached for her hand. And what about you personally, Sophia? Was it just because I'm a good person? Sophia felt her heart racing. This was the conversation she had been avoiding, the feeling she had been trying to suppress. No, she admitted quietly. It was because somewhere along the way I fell in love with you. Gabriel's face lit up with relief and joy. Thank God. Gabriel, you're vulnerable right now. You're recovering from a major betrayal. You shouldn't make decisions about relationships until... Gabriel leaned forward and gently kissed her, cutting off her protests. The kiss was soft and sweet, full of gratitude and hope. Sophia, he said when they broke apart, I've been thinking about this for weeks. Yes, I'm healing from Veronica's betrayal. But that experience also showed me what real love looks like. What do you mean? Veronica told me she loved me every day, but when I needed her most, she tried to kill me. You never said you loved me, but you risked everything to save my life. Sophia felt tears prick her eyes. Gabriel? Real love isn't just words. It's actions. It's sacrifice. It's putting someone else's well-being above your own comfort and safety. Gabriel stood up and pulled Sophia to her feet, wrapping his arms around her waist. You showed me what real love looks like, Sophia. And I want to spend the rest of my life showing you the same kind of love in return. Are you sure? It's only been 6 weeks. 6 weeks since the arrest, but 3 years since you started taking care of me. 3 years of watching you be kind to everyone around you. 3 years of seeing your integrity and strength. Gabriel cupped her face in his hands. I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow. I'm asking you to give us a chance. To let me court you properly and show you how much you mean to me. Sophia looked into his eyes and saw sincerity, hope, and love. She thought about all the reasons she should say no, all the complications and potential problems. Then she thought about the way Gabriel had thanked every nurse at the hospital, the way he had insisted on paying for her legal fees even though she was helping him, the way he had held her hand when she cried during Veronica's confession. Yes, she said simply. I'd like that. Gabriel's smile could have powered the entire city. He spun her around in a circle, both of them laughing like teenagers. I have an idea, Gabriel said, setting her down but keeping his arms around her. How about dinner tonight? Somewhere public, proper first date. I'd love that. But Gabriel, I have one condition. Anything. You're cooking. I want to make sure I can trust your food preparation skills. Gabriel threw back his head and laughed. Deal. But I should warn you, my cooking isn't nearly as good as my coffee ordering. That's okay, Sophia said, standing on her toes to kiss him again. I'll teach you. As they held each other in Gabriel's office, both felt something they hadn't experienced in months: pure, uncomplicated happiness. The future stretched ahead of them, full of possibilities and hope. Outside the office windows, the city hummed with life, but inside, two hearts that had been through trauma and betrayal were finally finding their way to healing and love. The courthouse buzzed with activity as Gabriel and Sophia arrived for the final day of Veronica's trial. Despite her plea agreement, the prosecutor had insisted on a public hearing to ensure justice was seen to be done. Gabriel wore a navy blue suit, while Sophia chose a professional burgundy dress that made her feel confident and strong. "Are you ready for this?" Sophia asked as they walked up the courthouse steps, surrounded by reporters and photographers. "With you here, I'm ready for anything," Gabriel replied, squeezing her hand. Over the past 3 months since they had started dating, Gabriel had kept his promise to court Sophia properly. They had gone on dozens of dates, from quiet dinners to art galleries to weekend trips upstate. Each experience had strengthened their bond and helped Gabriel heal from the trauma of his marriage. Inside the courtroom, they took their seats behind the prosecutor's table. Across the aisle, Veronica sat with her defense attorney, looking nothing like the polished socialite she had once been. Her hair was pulled back severely and she wore a plain gray suit. When she turned to look at Gabriel, her eyes were filled with hatred. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Martinez," the bailiff announced. Judge Martinez was a stern woman in her 60s who had a reputation for being tough on white-collar crime. She settled into her chair and surveyed the courtroom. "We are here today for the sentencing of Veronica Johnson, who has pleaded guilty to attempted murder in the first-degree, insurance fraud, and conspiracy. Before I pronounce sentence, I will hear victim impact statements." The prosecutor stood up. "Your Honor, Gabriel Johnson would like to address the court." Gabriel took a deep breath and walked to the podium. He looked at Veronica for a long moment before speaking. "Your Honor, 6 months ago I thought I was happily married to a woman who loved me. I trusted her completely with my life, my home, and my heart. I never imagined that the person sleeping beside me every night was slowly poisoning me, planning my death for financial gain." His voice was steady and strong, but Sophia could see his hands trembling slightly as he gripped the podium. "The physical effects of the digitalis poisoning were terrible. My heart was damaged and I still have to take medication daily. But the emotional damage was worse. Veronica didn't just try to kill my body, she tried to destroy my ability to trust, to love, to believe in the goodness of people." Gabriel paused and looked back at Sophia, who gave him an encouraging nod. "But she failed. Because in her attempt to destroy me, she revealed what real love and loyalty look like. Sophia Adams risked her career, her safety, and her reputation to save my life. She showed me that there are people in this world who will stand by you not because of what you can give them, but because of who you are." Veronica's lawyer shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Your Honor, I don't want revenge against Veronica. I want justice. I want her to serve enough time to understand the magnitude of what she did, not just to me but to everyone who trusted her. And I want other potential victims to know that this kind of crime will not be tolerated." Gabriel returned to his seat, and Sophia reached for his hand. "Ms. Adams," the judge said, "I understand you also wish to speak." Sophia had debated whether to make a statement, but Gabriel had encouraged her to share her perspective. "Your Honor," Sophia began, her voice clear and strong, "I became involved in this case not as a professional investigator, but as someone who cared about Gabriel Johnson's well-being. When I realized he was being poisoned, I faced a choice: stay silent and avoid complications or speak up and risk everything." She looked directly at Veronica as she continued. "I chose to speak up because I believe we have a responsibility to protect the innocent. Veronica Johnson took advantage of the most sacred trust that exists between two people. She used Gabriel's love as a weapon against him." Sophia's voice grew stronger with emotion. "But this case also showed me something beautiful. It showed me that love isn't just about romance or passion. Real love is about sacrifice, protection, and putting someone else's safety above your own comfort. Gabriel Johnson has spent the past months not seeking revenge, but building a future based on genuine care and respect." She turned to face Gabriel with a smile. "Your Honor, I ask that you sentence Veronica Johnson to the maximum allowed under her plea agreement. She needs to understand that love is not something to be exploited, and trust is not something to be weaponized." Sophia returned to her seat to supportive nods from spectators in the gallery. The judge then turned to Veronica. "Ms. Johnson, do you wish to make a statement before sentencing?" Veronica stood up slowly, her lawyer whispering urgently in her ear. For a moment, Sophia thought she might actually show remorse. "Your Honor," Veronica began, her voice cold and defiant. "I am guilty of making poor choices, but I was not the only one involved in this situation." Gabriel and Sophia exchanged surprised looks. "My husband was controlling and demanding. He made me feel like a prisoner in my own home. Dr. Santos offered me a way out of an unhappy marriage." The prosecutor objected, but Veronica continued. "I never intended for Gabriel to die. I just wanted him to be sick enough that I could divorce him and claim he was unfit to manage his finances. It was a lie, and everyone in the courtroom knew it based on the recorded evidence, but Veronica seemed to believe her own story." Judge Martinez's expression grew stern. "Ms. Johnson, you have pleaded guilty to attempted murder. The evidence shows you researched lethal doses and increased your husband's life insurance policy. Your statement today shows no remorse and no understanding of the severity of your crimes." The judge shuffled her papers and looked up. "Veronica Johnson, I hereby sentence you to 25 years in state prison without the possibility of parole for 15 years. You will also pay restitution of $500,000 to cover medical expenses and emotional damages." The gavel came down with finality. Veronica's face crumpled, and she began crying as the bailiffs moved to escort her away. "Gabriel," she called out desperately as they led her past his seat. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me." Gabriel looked at her with sadness but no anger. "I forgive you, Veronica. But forgiveness doesn't mean freedom from consequences." As Veronica was led away, Gabriel and Sophia stood up together. The ordeal was finally over. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded them with questions. "Mr. Johnson, how do you feel about the sentence?" "Justice has been served," Gabriel replied simply. "Now I want to focus on moving forward and building a positive future." "Ms. Adams, will you continue working for Mr. Johnson?" Sophia smiled and looked at Gabriel. "Actually, I have some exciting news to share." Gabriel nodded encouragingly. "Gabriel has offered me a partnership in Johnson Industries. We'll be expanding the company's charitable work and creating a foundation to help other victims of domestic violence and financial abuse." The reporters scribbled notes excitedly. "Is there a romantic relationship between you two?" one shouted. Gabriel put his arm around Sophia's waist. "Sophia and I are partners in every sense of the word. She saved my life and now we're building a life together." As they walked away from the courthouse, Sophia felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The trial was over, Veronica was going to prison, and she and Gabriel were free to pursue their future together. "So," Gabriel said as they reached their car, "ready to change the world with me, partner?" "Always," Sophia replied, standing on her toes to kiss him in front of the courthouse steps. The cameras flashed around them, capturing a moment of triumph, love, and hope for the future. 8 months after the trial, Gabriel stood nervously in the rose garden behind his family's estate, adjusting his tie for the 10th time. The garden had been transformed into a wedding venue, with white chairs arranged in neat rows and an arch of pink and white roses at the altar. James Thompson approached him with a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "You look terrified for a man about to marry the woman of his dreams." "I'm not terrified of marrying Sophia," Gabriel replied, his voice shaking slightly. "I'm terrified of not being worthy of her." "Gabriel, she chose you. That woman could have any man in the world and she chose you. Stop questioning it and start celebrating it." Gabriel nodded, taking a deep breath. The past year had changed him in ways he never could have imagined. The betrayal by Veronica had nearly destroyed his faith in love, but Sophia had rebuilt it stronger than ever. "Places everyone," called the wedding coordinator. Gabriel took his position at the altar next to Pastor Williams, who had agreed to officiate the ceremony. The string quartet began playing, and guests turned expectantly toward the back of the garden. Gabriel's breath caught when he saw Sophia appear at the entrance. She wore a stunning ivory dress that flowed gracefully as she walked, her dark hair styled in elegant waves with small white flowers woven throughout. But it was her radiant smile that made Gabriel's heart skip. Sophia had chosen to walk down the aisle alone, a symbol of her independence and strength. As she approached the altar, Gabriel saw tears of happiness in her eyes. "You look absolutely beautiful," he whispered as she took her place beside him. "You clean up pretty well yourself," she replied with a wink. Pastor Williams smiled at the couple before addressing the gathered friends and family. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the marriage of Gabriel Johnson and Sophia Adams. This union represents more than just romantic love. It represents the power of loyalty, sacrifice, and unwavering devotion." Gabriel and Sophia had written their own vows, and Gabriel went first. "Sophia, a year ago I thought my life was over. I had lost faith in love, in trust, in the basic goodness of people. But you showed me that real love isn't about pretty words or grand gestures. Real love is about showing up when things get difficult. His voice grew stronger as he continued. You risked everything to save my life when you could have just found another job. You stood by me through the darkest period of my life when you could have walked away. You loved me not because of what I could give you, but because of who I am. Gabriel reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple platinum band. Today I promise to love you with the same loyalty and courage you showed me. I promise to protect you, support your dreams, and stand by you through whatever challenges life brings. I promise to be worthy of the love you've given me. He slipped the ring onto Sophia's finger, his hand steady now. Sophia wiped away tears before beginning her own vows. Gabriel, when I first met you 3 years ago, I saw a kind man who treated everyone around him with respect and dignity. You remembered the names of security guards and cleaning staff. You asked about people's families and genuinely cared about the answers. Her voice was clear and strong. When I realized someone was trying to hurt you, I didn't hesitate to act because I knew the world needed more people like you in it. But as I got to know you better, I discovered something even more precious than your kindness. She paused, looking directly into his eyes. I discovered your capacity for forgiveness, your ability to heal from betrayal without becoming bitter, your determination to use your pain to help others. You turned the worst experience of your life into a foundation that has already helped hundreds of abuse victims. Sophia took Gabriel's ring from the pastor. Today I promise to be your partner in every sense of the word. To support your dreams, challenge you to be your best self, and love you with the fierce loyalty you deserve. I promise to build a life with you based on honesty, respect, and genuine partnership. She placed the ring on Gabriel's finger. You may kiss your bride, Pastor Williams announced with a broad smile. Gabriel cupped Sophia's face gently and kissed her as their friends and family erupted in applause. When they broke apart, both were crying happy tears. Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Williams said, I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. As they walked back down the aisle together, Gabriel squeezed Sophia's hand. How does it feel to be Mrs. Johnson? Like coming home, Sophia replied. The reception was held in a tent on the lawn, decorated with lights and flowers. Gabriel and Sophia's first dance was to At Last by Etta James, a song that perfectly captured their journey from employer and employee to husband and wife. During dinner, James Thompson stood to give the best man speech. I've known Gabriel for 20 years, and I've never seen him happier than he is right now. But this isn't just a story about finding love after betrayal. This is a story about two people who bring out the best in each other. James raised his glass. Gabriel, you found a woman who saw your worth when you couldn't see it yourself. Sophia, you found a man who recognizes your strength and wants to build a partnership with you, not just a marriage. Together, you've created something beautiful not just for yourselves, but for everyone whose lives you touched through your foundation. The crowd raised their glasses in toast. Later in the evening, as the party continued around them, Gabriel and Sophia stepped away to the quiet of the rose garden. Any regrets? Gabriel asked, pulling Sophia close. Only one, Sophia replied with a mischievous smile. I wish I had kissed you sooner. Gabriel laughed and spun her around under the starlit sky. Well, we have the rest of our lives to make up for lost time. About that, Sophia said, suddenly serious. I have some news. Gabriel's expression grew concerned. What kind of news? The kind that's going to make you a father in about 7 months. Gabriel's face went through a series of expressions: shock, joy, wonder, and finally pure happiness. Really? He whispered. Really? I found out yesterday, but I wanted to wait until after the ceremony to tell you. Gabriel picked Sophia up and spun her around again, both of them laughing with pure joy. I love you, Mrs. Johnson, he said, setting her down gently. I love you too, Mr. Johnson. As they kissed under the rose arbor where they had just been married, both felt the profound peace that comes from finding your true home in another person's heart. The future stretched ahead of them, full of possibilities. Their foundation work, their growing family, their partnership in business and in life. Whatever challenges came their way, they would face them together, with the kind of love that had already survived betrayal and emerged stronger. If you believe that true love is built on loyalty, sacrifice, and genuine partnership rather than just passion and romance, hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think makes a relationship truly strong? 5 years later, Sophia stood in the nursery of their new home, gently rocking their 3-year-old daughter Emma to sleep. The little girl had Gabriel's kind eyes and Sophia's determined chin, and she was already showing signs of both parents' compassionate nature. Mama, sing the song about the garden, Emma whispered sleepily. Sophia smiled and began humming the lullaby she had written about the rose garden where she and Gabriel had been married. It had become Emma's favorite bedtime song. Gabriel appeared in the doorway, loosening his red tie after a long day at the office. The Johnson Foundation had grown beyond their wildest dreams, now operating in 12 states and helping thousands of domestic abuse survivors each year. "How's our angel?" he asked softly, walking over to kiss both his wife and daughter. "Almost asleep," Sophia whispered back. "How was the board meeting?" "Productive. We approved funding for 3 new safe houses and a legal aid program. The Veronica Johnson case is still inspiring people to donate." Gabriel had made the difficult decision to use his ex-wife's name publicly in connection with their foundation work. It served as a reminder that domestic abuse could happen to anyone and take many forms, even slow poisoning by a trusted spouse. After Emma was finally settled in her crib, Gabriel and Sophia walked to their bedroom hand in hand. The house they had built together was filled with warmth and light, a far cry from the cold mansion Gabriel had shared with Veronica. "I have something to tell you," Gabriel said as they got ready for bed. Sophia looked up from brushing her hair. After 5 years of marriage, she could read Gabriel's expressions perfectly. "Good news or concerning news?" "Potentially concerning, but I think we can handle it." Sophia set down her brush and turned to face him fully. "What's going on?" Gabriel sat on the edge of their bed, his expression serious. "I got a call from the prison warden today. Veronica is being released early for good behavior." Sophia felt her blood run cold. "How early?" "Next month. She served 8 years of her sentence." For a moment the old fear crept back in. Sophia remembered the terror of those first weeks after Veronica's arrest, constantly looking over her shoulder, worried about revenge or another attempt on Gabriel's life. But then she looked around their bedroom at the photos of their wedding day, at Emma's artwork on the refrigerator visible through the open door, at the life they had built together through love and trust. "Are you worried?" she asked Gabriel. "I was for about 5 minutes. Then I remembered something important." "What?" Gabriel stood up and took her hands in his. "We're not the same people we were 8 years ago. We're stronger, we're prepared, and we have each other. More importantly, we have a life worth protecting now." Sophia nodded, feeling her courage return. "What do we need to do?" "James is already working on a restraining order. We'll upgrade our home security system and inform Emma's school. But Sophia, I don't want to live in fear. We've built something beautiful here, and I won't let Veronica's shadow touch it. What if she tries to contact you?" Gabriel was quiet for a long moment. "I hope she's learned something in prison. I hope she's found some peace and can move on with her life. But if she hasn't..." He squeezed Sophia's hands. "Then we'll handle it the same way we handled everything else. Together." 3 weeks later, their security system alerted them to someone approaching the front gate. Gabriel checked the cameras and saw a woman he barely recognized. Veronica looked older, thinner, with gray streaking her once perfect hair. She wore simple clothes and carried a small suitcase. "Stay with Emma," Gabriel told Sophia. "I'll handle this." "No," Sophia said firmly. "We handle this together, remember?" Gabriel nodded and they walked to the front door together, their housekeeper already having been instructed to call the police if Veronica showed up. They didn't open the door but spoke to her through the intercom system. "Hello, Gabriel." Veronica's voice came through the speaker, sounding tired and defeated. "I know I'm not supposed to be here." "Then why are you here, Veronica?" There was a long pause before she answered. "I wanted to apologize. Really apologize, not like at the trial." Sophia and Gabriel exchanged glances. "I spent 8 years thinking about what I did to you," Veronica continued. "I realized I didn't just try to kill your body. I tried to kill your spirit, your ability to trust, your faith and love. That was unforgivable." Gabriel pressed the intercom button. "Veronica, I forgave you a long time ago. But forgiveness doesn't mean we can have contact." "I know. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking you to know that I understand now what I destroyed. I see what you and Sophia have built, the foundation, the good you're doing. I know I had something precious and I threw it away for money." Sophia could hear tears in Veronica's voice. "I'm leaving town tonight. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry and I'm proud of the life you've built. You deserve all the happiness you've found." Through the camera, they watched Veronica walk away from their gate and disappear into the night. Gabriel and Sophia stood in silence for several minutes. "Do you think she meant it?" Sophia asked finally. "I think she did. But it doesn't change anything for us." "No, it doesn't." Gabriel pulled Sophia into his arms. "You know what this makes me realize?" "What?" "How far we've come. 8 years ago, I was a broken man who thought his life was over. Now I have a wife I adore, a daughter who lights up my world, and work that gives my life meaning. Sophia smiled up at him. And I was a woman hiding behind professional boundaries, afraid to let anyone close enough to hurt me. Now I have a husband who sees my strength and wants to build dreams with me. Emma's going to ask why there were police cars outside, Gabriel said, referring to the patrol units that had arrived as backup. We'll tell her the truth in an age-appropriate way. That sometimes people make bad choices, but love and family keep us safe. Gabriel nodded. She's going to have an amazing example of what real love looks like. From both of us. That night, after Emma was asleep and the excitement had died down, Gabriel and Sophia sat on their back porch looking out at the garden where they had been married. The roses were in full bloom, filling the air with their sweet fragrance. Any regrets about the life we've built? Gabriel asked, echoing a question from their wedding night. Only one, Sophia replied with the same mischievous smile she had worn that night. I wish we could go back and tell our younger selves how good it was going to get. Gabriel laughed and pulled her closer. I think they figured it out just fine. As they sat together in the peaceful evening, both reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. What had started as a case of attempted murder had become a love story that inspired thousands of people through their foundation work. Their marriage had become a beacon of hope for abuse survivors, showing that it was possible to heal from betrayal and find love again. Their partnership in business demonstrated that couples could be equals while still maintaining romance and passion. Most importantly, their family showed Emma that love was about more than just feelings. It was about daily choices to protect, support, and cherish each other. I love you, Sophia Johnson, Gabriel said, using the name that still made Sophia smile after 5 years. I love you too, Gabriel Johnson. Forever and always. As the stars came out above their garden, Gabriel and Sophia held each other close, grateful for the journey that had led them to this perfect moment. They had faced betrayal, overcome danger, built a business empire, and created a family based on genuine love and mutual respect. Whatever challenges the future might bring, they would meet them together, with the kind of love that had already proven it could survive anything. Their story had begun with poison and attempted murder, but it had transformed into something beautiful, a testament to the healing power of real love, the strength that comes from genuine partnership, and the hope that can emerge from even the darkest circumstances. In the end, Veronica had been right about one thing. Gabriel and Sophia had built something precious. But unlike Veronica's destructive greed, their love created value not just for themselves, but for everyone whose lives they touched. And that, they both knew, was the most beautiful ending of all.